Welcome to Climbing Together, the small business experience. I'm Beth Houtrow, founder of Climb the Small Business Book Club, and every episode I talk to a small business owner about a mistake that they've made and what they learned from the experience. Mistakes are inevitable, perfection's impossible, so let's embrace the mistake. And today we're so excited to welcome Anika Jones to the podcast. Anika, tell us a little bit about you and your business.
Okay, hi everyone. Thank you so much for having me, Beth. So my name is Anika Jones, as she said, and my business is Head to Toe Blessing. And as my tagline goes, it's made with love and it's covered with prayer. And it's just like what I like to say is that my business was birthed from a place of my own pain and like some health issues that I was having along the way. And just prayerfully considering what I need to do. And I started delving into like holistic health. It first started with my diet, then it opened the door to just non-toxic like skin and hair care products. And here I am 20 something
Nice.
years later making, the skin and hair care products. So that's what I do. And I
Awesome.
have
And are
six
you
children, and my husband and I actually, we've been married for 21 years, and I like to say that they are my little testers. So most of the products that I make, they test them and they are as honest as you can get.
nice? Well, that's helpful. You have quite a crew of
Yeah,
testers there, so very
yeah,
helpful. Nice. And are you online? Where are you located? Like, how can people find you to make purchases?
yeah. So I do have an online store, and that's headtotoeblessing.com. And I also am on Instagram and at Head to Toe Blessing. And I also have a YouTube channel, and that's Head to Toe Blessing as well. So all at Head to Toe Blessing.
Very cool. Nice. All right.
Yeah.
Well, we are here to talk about mistakes. So tell me about a mistake that you made as you were getting your business started and growing.
Okay. So first of all, that's an excellent question. All right. Celebrating not only the wins, but learning from the losses. I think it's not necessarily an isolated event. It's more of a mindset. And I think for me, initially, it sounds funny now saying it, but I was operating as if I did not have limitations. It was almost like I forgot that I was human. So I was trying to do everything, appeal to every single consumer that came to, my booth at the different farmers market. And I also realized that because I didn't understand my limitations, sometimes pride um, crept in, and I wasn't always willing to admit, like, you know what, I just don't know. And
Hmm.
there's one pronounced example that's kind of stays in my head to help to keep me a little humble and remind me we don't want to go back here. A consumer, she came to my table at one of the farmers market, and she was asking me some questions about one of my products, and it was an area that I wasn't well versed in. And as opposed to just being honest and just saying, you know what, I don't know, but let me go and research it and I'll come back, I didn't necessarily lie and say I knew, but I was beating around the bush and I was going on and on. And she was gracious enough to just smile and say thank you. She did not purchase a product because clearly she read through all of my going around in circles. And that was such a humbling thing for me because it just helped me to see that number one, you have limitations, and it is okay to admit that you don't know certain, things. And then with that, also understanding that it's not for you. Sometimes I think as an entrepreneur, you're so looking to get every single consumer to come your way. And if they ask you, can you make this or can you customize it in this way? You can really run yourself into the ground saying yes to every single request. And it just wasn't, I made that mistake earlier on. And now I'm willing to say, you know what? I am sorry. I can't do that for you. Perhaps you want to try another vendor, and just being okay with that.
Yeah. Well, it's not shocking that this happens to you and a lot of other entrepreneurs because there is so much myth around the rock star entrepreneur,
Mm,
right? And we're badass and whatever all this language is about being heroes. And yeah, it's what entrepreneurs do is amazing, but it creates this pressure to be a rock star all of the
Mhm.
time. And sometimes
Mhm.
it feels like you can't let somebody down, you can't not know something.
Mhm.
And so I think we're moving into an era where entrepreneurs and everyone else understands that we're human beings, all of us,
Mhm.
right? And that we
Mhm.
need to care for ourselves and give ourselves that grace to not know things. That's not everywhere, but I do think it's becoming more common. And I think it's really
Mhm.
interesting that you, having explored all of this holisticness and wellness, probably would have coached anybody else, right? To say, like, oh, you have to take care of yourself and you can't do everything. But we're not so great at
Yeah,
coaching ourselves on the wisdom that we have for others. Was that kind of the
absolutely.
case? Do you think you would have said that to someone else?
Oh, absolutely. So I often say, knowing and doing are two different things. Most of us know the correct answer, but sometimes doing it, right? And I think it's just good to just have that humility when it's highlighted to say, ooh, let me step back. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? A little bit and implement what I do know to do.
Yeah. One of my other guests, her like recommendation was when you're trying to decide what you should do, ask yourself what you would recommend to your best friend, right?
Mm,
Someone you really cared about, what would you tell them
hmm.
to do?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so that's what you should tell yourself to do. And I'm like, oh, that's
Mm,
a really good way
yeah,
to think about like making decisions and
yeah.
giving yourself advice. So, yeah.
Mm,
Nice.
yeah,
All
yeah.
right. Well, so this podcast is brought to us by Climb the Small Business Book Club, and we have two tenets around continual learning and building community. And I know for you, you have a really special book that you'd like to talk about that's meant a lot to you, obviously in life, but also as building your business. So, what's that?
So the special book that has guided just my life and my business practices is the Bible. And I feel like there's so many principles in it that helps me as a person as a whole, and even as an entrepreneur. How I should treat others, right? And not operating in greed as a business owner, um, operating in integrity, and just even recognizing that it's not just about making money. I know that there's been times where I've been at farmers markets and people come up and for whatever reason, they'll start just sharing what's on their hearts. And I have to stop and say, you know what, Anika, in this moment, this is not about like, oh, hurry up and let's make a sale. It's someone is going through it. Can I pause and just listen to your story and offer you some hope and some encouragement in the process. So the Bible, obviously, from the name of my company, I'm a believer in Jesus, and that just guides all of my practices, my business practices, and it's really made the journey a lot more fulfilling. And even to, what you were saying, what advice would I give to my best friend? Well, I go back to the Bible to find out what advice I need to apply, even when I mess up, and I do.
Yeah. Even when
So,
you're upset, I appreciate
yeah,
that. Yeah. All right. Well, that's great. And I'll be honest, I am not religious, but I was brought up with those tenets, right? And
yeah,
so
mm-hmm,
I think taking what you understand to be good and true in life and
mm-hmm,
applying that to your business is so important because
mm-hmm,
right, running people over to get where you need to be.
yeah,
I don't know,
yeah,
maybe some people can be happy that way, right? But aren't we
mm-hmm,
in business entrepreneurship because we want a goodness in life? And if you
yeah,
have
yeah,
to be unkind to people to get there, it seems like the goodness in life it can't come to
mm-hmm,
fruition. And so, yeah, I
yeah.
really appreciate the insights that you have there. All right. Well, and our last question is about building community and how you have found other entrepreneurs to be kind of your support system. Yeah, and how you've connected with other people. So tell me about that.
Yeah, so I I can sometimes be a bit unconventional with my approach because I feel like um, I like sincerity and
Hmm.
I like connecting with people who are sincere and not just necessarily trying to connect with me so that, I can pub their business. I like to know people, connect with other business owners, not just from a business standpoint, but you as a person. And I've been really blessed to just connect it, with other entrepreneurs who are off like mind and they have kind of, what should I say? the same goals that I do. And you can tell it's not just about using you, or yeah, just using you. So it's just been so sweet to be able to connect outside of business. But of course, inevitably, if we're trying to build our business, right, as business owners, it goes there in the conversation. But it's just been nice to go to different farmers markets, even when I am not necessarily a vendor there, go to
Mhm.
other people's events and just learn from others. So yeah.
Yeah. Love that. Well, and I think there's a lot of like misunderstanding about networking, and the experts,
Mhm.
I'm not an expert, but the
Yeah.
experts say that what you're doing is the best
Yeah.
way to network. And
Yeah.
that like, cheap business card handing out, hey, I'll do this for you if you do this for me. Um, it might like have like a little moment of success, but there's no longevity. There's no like real potential for
Mhm.
support and connection.
Mhm.
And so the really kind of deeply studied, or the people who study deeply about networking said the people who are most successful are the ones who find genuine friendships and genuine relationships. And from that can stem real, genuine support. If you need someone to help you brainstorm about what's going wrong with your marketing, you can't call up that person who handed you a business card one day, right? But
Absolutely.
if you have
Yeah.
a friend or someone you really know and like, could you just spend an hour with me thinking about this? That's where you
Yeah.
can get that kind of support. So
Yeah.
I love that that's how you've chosen to make your community. And just know that the the experts out there say you're doing it just right. So
Well, I love to
yeah.
hear that. And I just have to say this, like, I could even think of, even how my business has grown and some of the things that I've learned from some really good friends who they themselves are entrepreneur. Joe and, Shonda Lewis from the Irie Cup. And I just think about like, it's not just always about business, right? It's about,
Mhm.
man, we're building a friendship here. And from there, you can give me advice and I can gain it. So thank you for letting me know about what the experts
Yeah.
say. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Anika, that's our podcast today. Thanks so much for joining me.
Yes. Well, I really appreciate you having me and just making this space for other entrepreneurs as well.
This podcast is brought to you by Climb the Small Business Book Club, where entrepreneurs go to learn, discuss, apply, and grow. If you enjoyed the episode, be sure to subscribe at Apple, Spotify, or Google Podcasts, or follow us on Instagram at Climb Book Club. And always remember, mistakes are inevitable, perfection's impossible. So let's embrace the mistake.